Hello everyone and welcome to my first Percy Jackson video. Today we will be discussing the very exciting announcement of a new Percy Jackson adaptation.
So, of course, a new adaptation means a new cast. So, today I'm going to be talking about some of the traits, physical and character traits, that I think need to be included in this new Disney Plus adaptation so they don't make the same mistakes as the first adaptation did.
Okay, so in this video I want to focus on the three main characters. There are a lot of other characters that are very important to this story. Their looks and personalities, but for this video I wanted to focus on Percy, Annabeth, and Grover. So first of all, Percy Jackson, the most important character obviously in this book series, and I divided his traits into two columns, his look and his personality. So to start off, his look is very iconic. He has black hair, which is described all throughout the book as messy and always looking as if he just came back from a walk in the beach. He also has green eyes, which is important, but if they don't get an actor with green eyes, it wouldn't be the end of the world. They can always put some contacts on him. And then he's always described with a little bit of a tan, and in the first few books at least, he is medium height for his age. In the later books, he does grow quite a bit and he is, I think, above average height, but in the first ones, I would say he's medium height. And then he's always described with a sort of skater look about him, so that's why I wrote he probably wears Vans and skater shorts and probably just wears a lot of hoodies. And then his final part, which is essential for the Percy Jackson look, is his pen, Riptide, which he always carries around in his pocket because, as you well may know, even if he loses it, it always comes back to his pocket. Okay, then moving on to personality, which is, I think, even more important than his look. Percy Jackson is a very funny character, and most of that is based on his sarcastic personality. That's why the fandom knows him as Persassy. He is a very sassy young child. And I feel like they left out quite a bit of that out of the movies because most of his funny lines come from his inner dialogue. So if you don't have a voiceover, you don't get that in the movies. So I don't know how they're gonna do that in the show, but I'm kind of hoping for at least a little bit of narration, at least at like the beginning of each episode. Okay, and then I wrote frustrated because Percy has ADHD and dyslexia, and that leads him to being very frustrated in school because he hates not being very good at studying and at school stuff. So that always makes him very frustrated and kind of makes him lash out. Okay, then we get to loyal, which is of course his fatal flaw and probably one of his most important personality traits besides being sarcastic. He's loyal to a fault, as we see all throughout the books. And then I wrote he loves his mom, which I feel like is a very important part of his personality because all throughout the first book, what drives him is not the need to get Sue's lightning bolt back, but his desire to get his mom back. And then he's not afraid at all to stand up for himself or for others. This we see a lot of in the book, just in the first scene, when he stands up for Grover in the bus, when Nancy is throwing peanut butter at his hair. So he also hates bullies all throughout the book series. With Grover and with Tyson especially, he feels very protective of them. And he kind of has a little bit of outsider syndrome, both at Nancy Academy and even a little bit at Camp Half-Blood. After after he gets claimed by Poseidon, he feels very like an outsider, just as he was starting to feel comfortable at Camp Half-Blood. And finally, I said surprisingly witty and resourceful just because everyone expects him to be kind of an idiot because of the way he talks and acts, I guess. Jason, in one of the later books, says he's smarter than he looks, and I feel like that's the general consensus with everyone. Okay, moving on to our queen, Annabeth Chase. She has, of course, blonde hair, which is curly, and Percy describes it as princess curls. She has gray eyes, which look very intelligent, which makes sense because she's the daughter of Athena. She also has an intimidating stare for her age, an athletic build, which makes sense because she's been training for years in Camp Half-Blood. She's also described as being a couple of inches taller than Percy in the first 3 books, I think. And that is very important, and that's a detail I would love to see included in the casting. She is also always seen wearing a ponytail and carrying her blue New York Yankees cap with her, which, as you may well know, is her invisibility cap. She is also nearly always wearing her Camp Half-Blood shirt, and she is described as a California girl by Percy Jackson when he first sees her. She has a deep tan and always wears her Camp Half-Blood bead necklace, which also includes for her father's university ring, even though she has a very strained relationship with her father at the beginning of the first book. And then she also always carries the knife that Luke gave her. Okay, moving on to her personality, Annabeth is extremely stubborn, mostly because she knows she's very smart, and she is very proud, which is actually her fatal flaw. She is also obsessed with architecture, and that's a very fun thing to see, especially in the first book, because they take kind of a road trip, and her love of architecture kind of leads to some of the plot points. She also finds it a little hard to trust people, especially because of her past with her father and her stepmom, and you can really see this in the second book with Tyson. She's also very independent since she ran away from home when she was only 7 years old, and she had to learn to live on her own and provide for herself. She has an intense need to prove herself since she's been at Camp Half-Blood, I think the longest, at least in the Athena cabin, and she has never gotten a quest and has always desperately wanted to go on a quest. And then finally, she, like Percy, but even more so, is very witty and very resourceful. She can always trust her instincts and her brain to get her out of a tough situation. Finally, we have our lovely Grover Underwood, who is such an underappreciated character in my opinion. Okay, let's start with his look. He is described as having a hint of acne, and he looks older than the kids in their class because he is actually about twice their age in satyr years. So Percy describes him as looking like someone who has been held back a couple of years. He also has brown curly hair, and it's important that it's long enough to hide his horns, which he also hides in a hat most of the time. He also has some facial hair, which also makes him look older than the rest of the cast. I don't think there's a skin color specified for his character, which I find very interesting, so I don't know what they're gonna do with that. He also obviously has hairy goat legs because he's a satyr, and he walks weird because he's wearing fake feet and his shoes don't fit right. And as far as personality wise goes, he is shy, he finds it hard to step up for himself, and that's why Percy feels like he has to protect him all the time. He's also a pacifist. This is very funny to me. He can only play 2 songs in his windpipes, and one of them is a classical song, and the other one is a song by Britney Spears, and I find that incredibly amazing. He's also a nature lover, and he, like Annabeth, he needs to prove his own worth in the first one because he feels like it's his fault that Thalia died. So that's why he feels like he needs to succeed with Percy. He constantly underestimates himself, and I feel like a lot of the fandom also underestimates his character. He is extremely loyal and not very brave at the beginning, but he gets braver, especially when his friends are involved. He can stand up for others better than he can stand up for himself. Okay, finally I compiled some drawings of the trio, which I find are very cute, and I hope they find a cast that has good chemistry between them, because the trio spend a lot of time together during the book series, and their chemistry is very important in the books. I could not end this video without mentioning Percabeth, my OTP.
I really hope they take more time to develop their relationship that they did in the original movies, because for me it's one of my favorite parts from the books. And I think their slow burn relationship and the way they go from being not enemies, but Annabeth hated him, and then to friends to lovers, I think it's great the way he did it.
Thank you for watching this video, and I'll try to upload more videos as soon as more news on the shows come out, and I hope you like it, and yeah, bye!